All right, hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to a pump at the end of the day, Friday in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Rough week, on and off. Ended okay. How you doing, George? I'm Tom, by the way, and we are here with George. George,
I'm
how are you?
Georgie Porgy. I'm good. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good. Oh, by the way, I think you might yeah, you did just mention this in the poll. Uh,
What?
I think
What?
if you guys hit the subscribe button, we're going to get to 20,000 subscribers during this live stream.
What do you mean if you hit it? So we're still not there? That's been my life mission to
Well,
get it to 20,000.
we're trying. Hold on. Let me go see where we're at. We needed like 18 more
Oh, eight.
subscribers.
Oh, okay.
If you guys hit the
Oh,
subscribe button, we're going to get to
shoot.
I just went
Uh-oh.
to I'm in an
A whole
infinite
bunch of
loop.
people.
I
Well,
really
thank
got
you, people. That was my new thing. Was trying to finally get over to 20,000.
Let's see. Let me go to the actual number. It's showing 19.9, but I'll check in a few minutes. Smash the if you're new here, if you want to do us a favor, you can first of all smash the like button. It helps the stream out in real time, big time. So that is much appreciated. And of course, if you would be so kind as to consider subscribing to the channel, we are on the brink, possibly during this live stream, we might finally get to 20,000 subscribers. So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about the Bitcoin miners. Welcome, everybody. Special welcome to all of our members. I see a bunch of you guys in the chat. And of course, welcome to all of our existing subscribers and longtime watchers and followers. So how's everybody doing today? What is the poll?
The poll is stuck at
Oh,
19,900. Do you think YouTube doesn't want people to buy Bitcoin? Yes, I'm yelling.
ah,
Yeah,
haha.
I just do real quick poll. It was interesting though. I did a poll for, what people thought what was going to happen with Bitcoin. And of course, the majority of people thought we were going up.
Well, we kind of
HODL.
finally broke out. Now
Ooh.
we're pulling back a little. All right. Cleanspark to 100. Thank you very much for the super chat. Very much appreciated. Cleanspark to 100 said, and thank you for being a member also. Okay, quote, Cleanspark, HODL increased to 4,218, well on their way to Tom's goal of 5K by the halving. Yes, for 6 months or 5 months, I've been saying I think they can do it. I think they can get to 5K Bitcoin. So thanks for pointing that out. CleanSpark to 100. They crushed it. They sold, I think, like 2 Bitcoin this month. So by the way, we're going to get to their report. Grand Slam home run, in my opinion. I believe we got 2 reports today. We got Bitfarms reported their month end. CleanSpark reported their month end. I did an informal count on what Marathon did, and I will tell you, I'm gonna go out on a limb right now. We still have most of the reports left to come. CleanSpark's going to be the winner this month by a mile versus month over month from January to February, and according to my count, Marathon actually just barely beat CleanSpark in the month of February. So that's how well CleanSpark did. And in addition to that, Marathon in the middle of the month had a little bit of a tough month. They did have a strong finish. We'll get to all that. But yes, to your point, let me read the rest of that. Bitcoin all-time high next week. This is still CleanSpark to 100. Bitcoin all-time high next week. All models will be broken. Wall Street is here, and we're not bullish enough. Plan B, red dot day. So Bitcoin to all-time high before the halving is looking more and more and more likely. We're not there yet. Nothing is guaranteed, but Bitcoin continues to run. And we're going to look at yesterday, there was something that provided massive selling pressure. And yet, Bitcoin still maintained and basically went sideways yesterday. It was pretty much sideways today with a nice push really in the last half of the day. And we're just under $63,000. I do think in this candle, these are 15-minute candles. So just a few minutes ago, we did get to $63,267. We pulled back a little bit. Let's see if we can consolidate, and let's see if we can have another live stream where Bitcoin goes up. Strong finish to today. We will look at what happened yesterday. We had 2 days in a row where the Bitcoin miners got beat up badly. We did have a nice green day today, some better than others. I'll tell you guys, I did buy a little bit. I'll tell you what I did. Maybe George will share what he's done over the last few days.
I just did everything. Go ahead. I'm just laughing at myself.
It's funny. I will tell you, the hate is real. Man, the comments section on this channel, we had 2 bad days in with the Bitcoin miners, and it was like vicious hate. So
yeah, get the chart up, Tom. Let's see that Bitcoin.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm staring at it.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you.
So you can see, I mean, this red candle was pretty much just before the middle of the trading day. So, we headed down. For those of you who are new to the channel or who don't know, the orange line is where Bitcoin was when the markets closed yesterday. So comparing apples to apples, this was where we closed yesterday. So you can see we're much higher than that today, right? We closed the end of today on this candle right here. So that was about over a 1.5% move to the upside. We've pulled back just a little bit. 1.5% is a great day. I know we've had some days that were, drastically better than that recently, but, let's not take for granted a 1.5% move upside. That was a nice day. Chris Dominator, thanks for the super chat. Please check Riot offering. They closed their $700 million at the market offering. I will go through that. I want to go through Riot's offering, Marathon's offering. I'm going to go back and look at Cleanspark's offering as well. So I am going to clarify. There seems to be monumental. That's the other thing I was catching a lot of hate for in the comment section. There seems to be mass confusion around these at the markets, what they are, what they're doing. And I don't blame people, because I will tell you, I mean, I had to read a lot of stuff cover to cover. Some of it I had to reread. It's almost like, I don't know, I'm not going to say it's intentional, but man, for something that's very simple and straightforward, boy, did they make it complicated to try to figure out. But Riot did, in fact, close out their previous they had a $750 million at the market offering. They finished that one up, and they started a new $750 million at the market offering. That seemed like big news until we saw the next day what Marathon did. So I cut and pasted, and I have all the exact verbiage from the documents filed with the SEC so we can follow the bouncing ball. And I will show you guys exactly what all of those companies did, because it is unreasonably confusing. So I put the time in. Hopefully that will help in some way clarify some of this. Because again, I saw so many comments on the channel,
Oh, and as we stop right there real quick, Peter, that's why I don't like Marathon right now, because they got me.
They got you.
I shouldn't say this. Should I say this?
Well,
I lost
I don't know what you're going to say.
a lot of money because of those scumbags.
In your personal opinion?
In my personal opinion.
Well, the fact that you lost money wasn't your opinion.
no, that was real.
that part's a fact, but
I just hate competing with them to sell their, to sell their shares, and I know it has to be done and blah blah blah, but it's just aggravating.
We're going to talk about Riot and Marathon, and because I have been, for those of you who watched the channel for a long time, I defend the Bitcoin miners for the most. I don't know if defend is the right word. I try to explain that, that this is a highly capital intensive industry, Bitcoin mining, and particularly going into the halving, they have really, if they want to survive and more importantly thrive, and that's what we want. We're investors. We want these stocks to go up. I don't want them to just find a way to somehow survive the halving. No, we want to make money. So they have no choice but to dilute. However, having said that, the dilution that's happened in the last 60 days, and I'm going to look at Cleanspark, Marathon, and Riot, it to your point, George, you are competing with them. It's the better part of $1 billion of new shares issued from those three companies in, an incredibly short window of time. And as a percentage of overall market cap, that's not insignificant. Now, for those that explained what they're doing and that, when we see companies issue new shares, have a new at the market offering, and simultaneously, kind of give us a press release to say, hey, we're buying, 35,000, S21s, and we're building this, and we're getting to that exahash, and they show us their plan, and it looks, and it looks reasonable, and you can line up the dollars and understand, okay, they're doing this, but they've already showed us where they're going to spend 30 or 40% of this money, and so the next piece is coming. But I will talk about, I think Marathon, to me, and I do, I didn't sell my stock, so I hold them. I didn't sell the stock, so it wasn't enough for me to say, I've changed my mind on them overall and I'm out. But it gives me great pause what they have done, and I'll show you exactly what they did. It's staggering. No Bitcoin miners diluted to this extent. Nothing that even slightly resembles this. So I will show you that. Essentially, they went and grabbed about $500 million in like a month.
Right.
So that's before they issued a brand new $1.5 billion shelf offering. So I'm going to show you the exact specifics. But yes, it's crazy. Oh, Darren. And George told me about this morning, and then I went and looked it up. So I will say congratulations to Darren, who's been telling everybody for at least a week, maybe more.
There's more. It's probably like 3 weeks.
Yeah, Darren called this, and today was the day, and I looked at some of those. So I saw some of those things, and Darren, obviously you know exactly what you had, but I saw some of the. Darren's been saying put options on NYCB, and I saw some that were up 500%, 700%. They may have even gone past that. That's what they were doing when a 700% move on your money in one day. And it wasn't even one day. That was 5 minutes after the market opened. So, congratulations to Darren, and that's a call. So for those of you who are in the membership, Darren's been screaming about those for a while. Hopefully some of you guys followed along, and either way, at least for Darren, congratulations. That was a huge call, and that worked out big time. So, and it might not be over, right? I mean, we don't know what's next.
So I have to say, somebody said I don't have a clue, and Farting George doesn't have a clue, but I do like that one, Farting George. I guess maybe you picked it up. You can smell that? I didn't know you could smell that. But anyways,
George.
What? It's okay. It's okay. It's all good. All I said about Marathon was I was getting out and reassessing Marathon. Maybe it'll pull back some more. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I just can tell you, if it goes up really fast and really hard in one day, they're going to sell, and it's going to go back down.
We're at a real tricky point with these Bitcoin miners. They got beat up badly 2 days in a row. I said the first day we came on and did an emergency live stream that because, Bitcoin was way up, the Bitcoin miners were way down, and, we wanted to get on and talk about it. We had done, an impromptu live stream 2 days earlier on a great day. And we always say, and even on that day on Monday, we said, it's actually more important to us to come on and talk about this stuff on the hard, more difficult down days. Now, when I said that, I didn't know we were just 2 days away from not one, but two of those in a row. But we did come back on. So, there were some comments in the comments section like, you got a lot of nerve showing your face, blah, 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 blah. It's like, hey, listen. We show our face because we're here to talk on the good days and on the bad days. This is a community, and for those of you who are new here, we have an absolutely fantastic community. And what's the number one thing we say on this channel? Volatility. These stocks are highly volatile. So if you don't have the stomach for volatility, this is not a good place, and that's not an insult. A lot of people don't. There's a lot of different ways to invest. Most people would not be interested in stocks that have this level of volatility. Now, for those that have been in these for the last 15 months, you're still, despite a couple of bad days in a row, you may be up 300, 400, 500, 600%. That's just on the stock. Forget if you played the options. But obviously in 2022, you know, I held through that period and got decimated. So, you know, I'm there with everybody. So, you know, when these go down, I lose money. My money's just as real as everybody else's. So, you know,
I know I'm dumb to sell, but I can just tell you, I was up 247% with my whole portfolio, and now I'm only up 199%. So, you know, take that for what it's worth.
and that's a way to keep things in perspective. So,
Yeah.
and I had to do that myself. I will tell you, on the second day in a row, I'm going to go, I saved this somewhere. Let's just look at the actual. This was the second day in a row. So this was yesterday. After Wednesday was a train wreck to the point where we jumped on and had a live stream, right? Not for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you know, what Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Bitcoin was through the roof 3 days in a row. But on Wednesday, the Bitcoin miners were red across the board. And here's Thursday. So I saved yesterday's. Marathon was down 16% yesterday. Riot just under 10%. CleanSpark 7.5%. Bitfarms just under 10%. Cypher just under 10. TerraWolf almost 11. You know, Iris Energy was one of the great performers, down 2.5%. But on a day where Bitcoin was up 5%. So you can see, I mean, you'll find your Bitcoin miner. MicroStrategy, you know, is the only thing on this list that's not a Bitcoin miner, but by popular demand, we have included this because obviously it's a Bitcoin play. And so it followed Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin was up 5 or 6%. MicroStrategy was up 5 or 6%. The Bitcoin miners did not follow along at all. And this was day number 2 of getting wrecked. So one of the things that I did for myself is I just, I have a few different platforms I trade on, and this is one of the reasons people think that Robinhood is like simple and for beginners, and so all the different platforms bring different, you know, different things to the table. One of the things you can do on Robinhood is zoom out and say, okay, what did my portfolio do today? What's it done in the last week? What's it done in the last month? And so I just zoomed out just a little bit, and all I had to do was zoom out to 1 week, and I was still up, and then to 1 month, and I was way up. So, you know, 2 horrible days in a row, I just zoomed out a little bit. So I didn't sell anything. And, you know, if you bought or you sold, that there's everybody's got their own strategy, which is the other thing we talk about. Just have a plan. If you sold because that's a part of your plan, you had a stop loss, you had massive gains, and you had a stop loss and you were going to take them, great. If you sold because the story changed and you've decided you're getting out of an investment and getting into something else, but if you just sold because you were in a panic, usually that's not a good investment strategy / execution. So
anyways, we follow different types of crypto on this channel too. My good old friend Sean told me to buy Arrow. And let's see. Arrow went from basically yesterday at 33 cents to today at 62 cents. It made it up to 65. 67, honestly. So take a look at it if you guys are into that stuff. It seems
which
like
one
it's
is
moving.
it?
Arrow. AERO.
AERO.
Don't ask me what they do.
Shout out to Sean. Was this Sean?
Yeah, that was Sean.
All right.
I don't know what the heck they do. They're a spin-off of blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't know. But they doubled. That's what's amazing. They got listed on Coinbase the beginning of this week, and they doubled. And now they're a $99 billion market cap.
That's a huge catalyst.
Yeah.
99 billion or million?
It's a million.
Okay, so they still could, you know, they could 10x from there.
Oh, yeah,
or
they could, yeah.
Pump and dump, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know either.
Always be extra careful if you think the Bitcoin miners are volatile, right? Small cap
rug pull
tokens are tough stuff. So invest with buyer beware. We got a poll going if you're interested. All-time high Bitcoin before the halving. Right now we got 81%, 82% think we're going to get to our all-time high. For reference, let me go to the 1 day. The all-time high is right here, 69,000. So we're just, I mean, we are getting very, 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 we're less than 10%, just a little more than 9.5% away from Bitcoin's all-time high. We've never gotten anywhere near this close to the all-time high before a halving. So this is by far the best run. I'm going to go to a chart just to put it in perspective how much further ahead we are. I've been pulling the Fibonacci numbers out lately. This is not my favorite thing, so it's not like this is one of a million different things to look at. But there's an interesting way to look at this. The 6.618, and this is the Fibonacci retracement back to the 69,000. So these are, if you don't know, this is just one of many thousands of technical analysis that you can do, but it's pretty popular among traders, day traders, and algorithms, and that's the only reason I pay attention to it. But this level right here, this gold level right here, Bitcoin's never gotten back to this prior to a halving, if you retrace from the all-time high in between halvings. So that's down at 48,000 to 50,000. So we are now at 62,000. That's how much further ahead we are this time around than in any other previous Bitcoin cycle. So we are drastically ahead of the previous cycles. Obviously there's a lot of catalysts for that. The ETFs have to be, in my mind, the absolute number one catalyst. I think it's the biggest catalyst in Bitcoin history. I also think we're still in the very super early stages of what these ETFs are going to do. And look at the dramatic effect they've already had.
I have another question. Somebody asked, how do we verify Marathon is really diluting?
Well, here, let me get to that. Let me go to Marathon, because I did this because I know there's just massive confusion. So let me see if this one's, no, that's CleanSpark. Marathon. Okay, so this was page 21 of their S3, which they just put out a few days ago. It says, I'm going to read the whole thing because it's one paragraph. On October 24th, 2023, we commenced a new at-the-market offering. That was a $750 million at-the-market offering. By the way, that was 4 months ago. They opened, so under which we may offer and sell shares of our common stock from time to time through the sales agent, offering price up to $750 million. So they opened a $750 million shelf offering 4 months ago. As of December 31st, we sold 19 million shares. Okay, so that was $248 million. But here's the important part. Subsequent to December 31st, we sold additional shares of common stock under the 2023 at-the-market offering, such that the aggregate offering price of shares sold under the 2023 at-the-market is approximately $750 million. They, in 4 months, cleared this $750 million at-the-market offering. And more than that, $500 million of this was since January 1st. So this is in their filing with the SEC. This is not me speculating or guessing or trying to interpret. If you pull up the S3 and you go to page 21, you'll see under recent developments, they spell out right here. This says they just did $750 million of dilution since October 24th. This is all in an S3 where they're saying, by the way, we're opening up at $1.5 billion at the market offering. So, right or wrong, whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, I do think it's important to understand what they did, because there does. I don't like the fact that this was not in their financial statements. This should have been, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, for whatever it's worth, it would be typical for this to have been in the footnote, subsequent events. I'm confused as to why it wasn't. Now, they did put it in here, but this is on page 21 of the S3. Not a lot of people are getting to page 21 of the S3, right? So this, to me, this should have been a little more clear. And you can see there's confusion because we've gotten how many questions, and even now, on this stream, people weren't really sure whether this happened or not. So, yes, they have disclosed it. It is right here in black and white, filed with the SEC. They went in for approximately 4 months. They opened and used all $750 million of their offering. And this was all, a part of them. Somewhere I have this open. They opened a new here. So the date of this prospectus is February 28th. $1.5 billion at the market offering. So they finished their $750 million, $500 million of which they just grabbed in the last, 2 months. And now they got another. Now they talked about this. I also last night listened to their earnings call, and they did talk about this, and they talked about some big plans. So the flip side of this is, their stated plan is to get to 50 exahash by December 31st, 2025. Now, there's 2 other companies that have the same plan, and they've laid out an execution strategy to get there, and that is Cleanspark and Riot. Now, between these 3 companies, everybody, I'm sure, has varying different levels of confidence as to whether or not these companies will actually execute these plans and get to the 50 exahash. But what Fred did say, the CEO of Marathon, is he said they do have options to get to just under 70 exahash by December 31st, 2025, if they choose to do so. They also did, as far as I know, for the first time, verify out loud, although they've put enough clues together that we all knew where it's coming from. All these new machines are coming from Auradine. So these I think will be the first time these machines are ever on the market and up and running. So they've got all the orders in, and to get themselves to 50 exahash and then potentially 70 exahash. And then he talked about if other opportunities present themselves. So if I go here, you'll see they had $357 million of cash on the books. We know they just got through their at the market offering, they just got another $500 million after year end. So that's about $857 million. They have access to another $1.5 billion. So the question becomes, that's $2.3 billion. Do we feel good, or do you feel good? This is what each investor needs to ask themselves. And the answer very well may be yes. Do you feel good about management's ability to spend that money in a way that is most beneficial to you, the investor? Are they going to grow their business? Are they going to be efficient in the sale of that? So, they're not just selling at any price. Are they going to be strategic raising the money? And then are they going to be strategic spending the money so that it is accretive and they build this business to the 50 or 60 or 70 exahash? I think that it's clear, they're looking to shift from being 97% hosted by others to, ultimately, I got to believe with, this $2 billion, $2.25 billion between these 2 offerings, they're looking to bring everything in-house, it would seem. They've already made a major purchase to start that process, so they've only just begun. So there could be a lot of big things. Listen, this is going to be one of the big players in this industry. It's hard to imagine them not being one of the top players, if not the top player. The question is, in the short term, in the medium term, in the long term, how do you feel about this much stock dilution? George, how do you feel about this much stock dilution?
It just makes me mad. I just wait for the pullback and I'll get back in. I mean, maybe there won't be one. Maybe I got out prematurely. But I know so far I'm up a little bit. I'm not up a lot. But I didn't get out of the Bitcoin miners completely. I moved everything into Cleanspark. And Bitfarms, by the way.
You're in Cleanspark and Bitfarms.
But yeah,
so those are my 2 biggest positions as well. But I also have third biggest position is Riot. My fourth biggest position is Marathon. And I will tell everybody I have been slowly, and I was late to the party on this. I've been building out a position in Iris Energy. So that is my fifth biggest, and it is much smaller than my other ones. But I did add to that twice this week. So that's the only thing I added to. Actually, that's the only Bitcoin miner I added to on the pullbacks in those 2-day windows. So I did buy in. I bought some more. I can't say Iris Energy. It's Iron. There's no more Iris. They've changed their name. They are now Iron. So I bought some more Iron this week.
And Gorilla. Cleanspark has already issued a dilution.
Okay,
how much was theirs?
Let's go to theirs.
Everybody goes, once that Bitcoin started taking off, they're like, I gotta get some money.
Okay, so
and here's the other thing before you talk about Cleanspark. The other problem I have with Marathon is they just haven't said what they're gonna do with the billions of dollars. That bothers me. They said they're gonna buy Bitcoin miners.
They haven't been as crystal clear as some, right? They keep talking about, mergers, acquisitions, that kind of stuff. That has yet to happen. I don't know. Are there some targets out there? Drop in the comments. Maybe we can do a poll. We got a current poll: best return on investment on Bitcoin miners, Cleanspark, Marathon, Riot, or Bitfarms. Right now, Cleanspark is in the lead by a mile with a majority fluctuating between 52 and 53%. So Cleanspark remains the retail favorite. This has been true for the last, I would say, 90 days now. It was a lot closer. Cleanspark and Marathon were neck and neck. It looks to me like this last little thing here has maybe given some people a little bit of pause on Marathon. I'm not saying Marathon's,
No, you're not even out of Marathon.
No, I kept my position. I did not add on the dip because I don't know where it ends. And this is it's a significant amount of money. At a bare minimum, I'm going to spend a little while digesting the truckload of information that has come at us regarding Marathon and Riot over the last few days. So I'm probably a little slower to move on a lot of these things than maybe the rest or the average person is. But, I'll do my due diligence. And I got to let it sink in and digest because, these knee-jerk, I'll tell you, my knee-jerk reaction was, wow, you guys just closed out your $750 million in 4 months. I've never seen any company of this size raise that much money in 4 months. That's very aggressive. But by the same token, right, we're less than 2 months away from a halving. They've talked about the fact that they're already the biggest Bitcoin miner. They already mine the most Bitcoin pretty much every single month, although there's a chance Core Scientific will beat them this month. And by my calculation, I think they just barely beat Cleanspark. I had tech support go in and add up all the Bitcoin block by block by block. And he came up with 730 Bitcoin mined by Marathon in the month of February. So if anybody else has double checked that, let me know. If he checked it and checked it twice, and that's about what I was expecting. So I think that's right. And they actually had to finish pretty strong just to get to 730. And remember, last month they were at 1,084. That represented a 42% pullback from December. Now, December was an anomaly. Marathon's December will stand as a record month for any publicly traded Bitcoin miner, in my opinion, for years to come. Particularly since the reward's about to get cut in half in a month and a half. So,
half. So, Cleanspark, huh?
Cleanspark.
Those bastards went for some money too, huh?
Well, they did. You say that all the Bitcoin miners, pretty much all of the larger Bitcoin miners that are publicly traded, have open at the market offerings. And I mean, they've got to. When you look at a company like Bitfarms is one of my favorite companies. They're looking to get to 17 exahash, and now they talked about 21 exahash. Well, how are you going to get from 6 exahash to 21 exahash without going and raising money? I mean, it's not, there's not a magic ASIC farm where they're just going to find, Bitcoin mining machines. So they got to get the machines, they got to get the infrastructure. And so as long as they're, getting the machines for a good price, they are getting good power purchase agreements, and they are executing with the machines they have. And to me, two companies jump out in my mind, CleanSpark and Bitfarms. To me, from an operational execution standpoint, I have them as A pluses. There are others that do a very good job of execution. To me, over time, those have proven to be the best, in my opinion. Iris is very good execution over the last, 6 months in particular. Hive has always been good at executing, but they are on a much smaller scale, and that disparity is going to get even larger as 2024 unfolds. So let's look at what CleanSpark did. Not Marathon. Okay, so first thing is, in footnote 17, subsequent events, they did talk about at the market equity issuances from January 1st to February 8th. That's when they put out their financial statements. The company issued 12 million shares under their 2024 at the market facility for net proceeds of $122 million. All these numbers are in thousands, so that's 122. So they raised $122 million. So it's $500 million from Marathon, $122 million from CleanSpark, and you're going to see, we'll talk about Riot. They did even more than this in that period of time as well. Then, so this I cut and pasted. This is from page 30 of their 10K. So again, I tried to trace all this information back to documents filed with the SEC as to not speculate as to what these companies are doing. This is what they have done. On January 5th, 2024, the company entered a new at the market offering agreement, and then later you will see, here we go. If I can make this more visible, $500 million of shares of common stock. So they opened a $500 million offering on January 5th, 2024. So, and they let us know that by February 8th, they've already used 122 million of that. Now, we know that in that same period of time, they went from 10 exahash to 15 exahash operationally. So that is why I believe, and we will have to wait and see, out of all the Bitcoin miners that we follow, which is 19, and all of them don't do monthly operational updates. I think maybe 13 of them do. I think the only company that will mine more Bitcoin in February than January is CleanSpark. They did put out their report today. I'll go through that. They mined more Bitcoin in February than they did in January. And I don't think anybody else is going to be able to do that. There were two, I'll just show you. There were two, in February, on February 2nd, there was a 7.33% increase in the difficulty level. On February 15th, there was another 8.24% increase on top of that. So that's over 15% increase in the difficulty level. On top of that, only 29 days in the month. So those things put together are going to make it virtually impossible for anybody to mine more Bitcoin in February than they did in January. So we'll have to wait and see as the results roll in. But I think that's likely. I'm just going to ask everybody, we're at 142 likes. If you guys could do us a giant favor and smash the like button. It does help the live stream out in real time. It helps the channel out in real time. I will also try to check and see if we have gotten, let's see if I can find the information. Let's see if we got to our 20,000 subscribers that we've been
patiently waiting for,
crying about, whatever you want to say. Just 1 second. All right, while I'm doing that, I was going to say, while I'm doing that, first let's get back to the Bitcoin chart, and let's get a new poll going. So we are still 14. We need 14 new subscribers.
Oh, 14, really? Oh, wow.
So if you are new here, if you have not subscribed, if you are interested in Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners, if you enjoy this content, or even if you don't enjoy the content and you just want to help us out, We're looking
So
for 14
14. Can I get
generous souls that will join us on our journey, so we
So
can at last say we're at 20,000 subscribers.
where are we on this run for these Bitcoin miners and Bitcoin, do you think, Tom?
Like versus the 4-year
But where we're
cycle, if
going,
you will.
yeah, exactly. With where we're going, do you think we got a lot of more upside on these Bitcoin miners?
I do. I still think there's a lot of upside left on the Bitcoin miners. So, the last 2 days are a perfect example. And I want to say, I mean, I would say the number one most repetitive thing that I have said is these miners are extremely volatile. I say that in every live stream. I say that in every video. And that's not a CYA thing. We're not here to make money. We invest to make money, but we're a listen.
What?
Reality check. We're a less than 20,000 subscriber channel.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
I'm like, I'm here to make money.
No,
I'm here to get.
As investors, we're here to make money, and we're
Right,
here
right,
to
right.
try to all share together and all help each other in that journey. So,
I agree with that statement. Okay.
the people that jump in and say, "Oh, you're just pumping the Bitcoin miners," I'm brutally honest about these Bitcoin miners. Check out my deep dives. When they do
Tom,
well, I say so. When they don't, I say so. Go ahead, George.
how much money did you get from the Bitcoin miners last year?
How much money did I get paid?
Yes.
I know that precise number. I think everybody knows. 0.
Oh,
So,
that's crazy.
when we have a sponsored video, and we've never had one from a Bitcoin miner, so we do this on our own. And as you can see, sometimes we say some not as nice things about certain of the miners. So I try not to be negative, and we try to just say what's actually happening. But, I'm not going to go on about it. It's a tiny, tiny fraction of people that, and I understand people have bad days, they lose money, and, they're frustrated, and I get it. But just know, like, I'm losing money too. My top investments are the Bitcoin miners. So on those red days, I got decimated. Cleanspark to 100. Thank you for the super chat. Dilution is fiat abuse for more Bitcoin. Cleanspark will mine 1,000 Bitcoin this month. Yeah, so in the month of March, Cleanspark could mine 1,000 Bitcoin. That would be a grand slam home run. And they mined let's go to their operational. They put out their monthly operational report. Let's take a look. 2 reports came out today.
Thank you, sir.
Hash rate growth in a single month to exceed 16 exahash. So they came into this year at 10.08 exahash. Call it 10 exahash. We're 2 months in, and they're at 16 exahash. Now, this is what they said they were going to do. So, this is not out of left field. It's not a shock. Bitcoin mined in the month, 648 Bitcoin. Let me just go to a chart real quick. So if we look at CleanSpark, this is the month of December and the month of January. So in the month of January, they mined 577 Bitcoin. You'll note in the month of January, every single publicly traded Bitcoin miner that put out a report, they were all down month over month, which made sense for a couple of reasons. There was the fees in December that they collected were gigantic. Also, we had some difficulty level adjustments. So everybody struggled. January was a downward move for every single Bitcoin miner. But and again, I think February is going to be the same thing for the reasons we just talked about. However, if you look at CleanSpark, 577 in January, and if we go back here, you're going to see 648 in February. So they handily beat January, and it's my guess they're the only ones that are going to do so. And it's because they put so much additional exahash online. So they continue to grow. So you can see current hash rate is 16. Bitcoin mined 648 in the month. And now total Bitcoin HODL 4,218. 6 months ago, this number was 500. Right? They had been hanging out at 500 for about a year. They dollar cost averaged out of their Bitcoin. They started selling their Bitcoin very near the peak people criticized them for that. But if you fast forward, it's a part of what has allowed them to grow so dramatically and become really one of the leaders in this industry.
Put
So,
a new poll up, Tom. Who will mine the most Bitcoin in March?
aha.
And
Yeah,
don't forget about Core. Everybody forgets about Core.
right, because I do think there's a really good chance that in the month of February, Core Scientific is going to mine the most Bitcoin.
Oh, really?
I don't know. We'll see. It was a tough month for everybody, but if you look at December, let me go back to that chart. If you look at December, Marathon was 1,084, Core Scientific was 1,027. They were neck and neck in January of 2024, and Marathon had a huge drop off in February. Now, they have not verified that number. We will wait and see. Their operational report will come out next week, and we'll see if the rough, we added them up ourselves and came up with, I think, 731 or something like that. So we'll see what the reality is. But I do think they had a tough month. There were several days they explained it. To their credit, they did talk about it before, during, and after. They told us what was going on. They had a few down days, and they finished the month strong, with the exception of one day where they had 0 blocks mined. They were doing 6, 7, 8 blocks a day, which is extremely strong performance to close out the month. And then there was just one day in the middle where they had 0. So I'm not sure if that was just bad luck or, they had to power down for some reason. Hard to say.
I have to tell you something too, Tom. This is crazy. You were right about this one. BAKKT Holdings,
Uh-huh.
they just plummeted. They went to well, now they're at 59 cents from $1.10. Remember, some guy used to come on our stream every Friday and says, "You guys need to invest in this company." And you're like, I looked into it because I remember they were in Atlanta, Georgia. So if you guys see stuff here and it's not vetted, just remember you're on your own.
Well, and you're always on your own. So that's the other thing. You got to do your own due diligence. You cannot borrow somebody else's conviction, right? I don't care how hyped up a YouTuber might be, or whether it's YouTube or TikTok or social media, or your friend or your uncle or your friend's uncle, or it doesn't matter. You got to know it. You got to know your investments. You got to believe in your investments, and you got to keep yourself up to date on what's going on with your investments. That doesn't mean you have to spend your life reading 10Ks, but just follow along. If there's a press release that comes out,
they had to file an amended 10Q about the risk factor of their ability to go forward in the next 12 months.
So they probably put a going concern in, and their auditors probably said, there's substantial doubt as to whether or not this guy, and I don't know, I'm not looking, but that's one of the standard accounting things that the auditor is required to put in, so that's an exception. That's not a clean opinion from an auditor. Now, I don't know that that's what happened. I'm just, based on what George is saying, I'm speculating that may be what went on there. There are several Bitcoin miners that we follow that have going concern warnings in their financial statements. So, that's another thing to understand. That means that both their auditor, and you will see when the auditor says that, there will be usually in footnote 1, the company will address it, and they will typically agree that, yes, there is substantial doubt as to our ability to continue for the next 12 months. Now, they will probably usually go on to say, here's what we're doing to mitigate that. This is what we're doing to, this is our plan. But just understand, we may or may not make it. There are some of these companies that unless there's something that I just don't understand, I just can't see how they're going to make it for the next year. So they maybe they'll still be an okay investment, because maybe they'll get bought out, at, a premium. So, it's hard to say, but some of the smaller Bitcoin miners, I think are going to have a lot of trouble the months surrounding the halving. And, you know, we are almost there. Having said that, some of these smaller, Argo Blockchain was up 15% today. Stronghold was up 5% today. Mawson was up 6.7% today. So some of the small ones had a good day today. And every Bitcoin miner, with the exception of Core Scientific, was green today. And I will tell you, Core Scientific drastically, when all the other Bitcoin miners were getting destroyed, Core Scientific was outperforming. So over the 2 days before this, Core Scientific outperformed. So if you look at the 3 days together, it kind of evens itself out a little bit. TerraWolf was up 9% today. So the leaders on today, you know, TerraWolf up 9%, CleanSpark just under 7% today. HUT was up 5%. I'm going through some of the larger caps now.
What about Argo Blockchain?
Argo Blockchain was up almost 15% today.
What do you think that was?
You know, who knows? You want to take a look at the chart?
Sure. Yeah, forget about it. Let's do it.
We'll get to this later. So a quick aside, the S&P 500 is now at their all-time high.
Wow,
The
that's
previous
crazy.
all-time high was in January of 2022. They took that out in January of 2024, middle of January, and they've just been going straight up since then. They're at their all-time high. The Nasdaq's doing even much better than the S&P is. They're at their all-time high. That's not what we were going to look at, though. Let's go take a look at, what did you want to look at? Argo Blockchain?
Yeah.
So here's the 1 day on Argo Blockchain. So a couple of key numbers that we look at. This is Argo. Oh, this goes back to February of 2023. So this was July of 2023. That was a local high. And then on December, so they didn't really follow along. All the other Bitcoin miners hit their high on December 27th. Here's where Argo Blockchain got to. They did go above this intraday a few days later. So technically their high was here at $4.44. They were up 15% today, but that only gets them to $2.32. So they're still down. I mean, from where they were January 2nd at their peak. Now they closed that day. They plummeted that day down to $3.34. But from their peak to right now, they're still down almost 50%, 48%. So this is not a company that's in my top 10 as far as my personal conviction as to where they're going. They had to make a dramatic, I will say this is a company that did save themselves. They were days, hours away from going out of business. And if I can go back, you'll see, like, look at this run right here. This is on the 1 day. So like from here to here, that's an 80% drop in, you know, a month. And they even went down from there. And then they had a giant reorganization. They sold their Helio. Was that the name? They sold their entire facility, reorganized their entire business, and found a way to move forward. But I'm not sure. So this is one of those companies where, again, they may have found a way to move forward. For me, I'm just not sure from an investment standpoint, is this going to be one of the winners? It's not in my top 10. That's my personal opinion, not financial advice. Jonathan, thank you very much for the super chat. Jonathan said, hi. Please, can you comment on Bitfarms call options they have purchased? What are your thoughts? Will they report on this in the Q4 earnings? They will report on this in the Q4 earnings. I have to go back and refresh my memory, but I believe they bought, when they initially went through and this entire, and it was like an 80-page document, they talked about this call option strategy. And I think the strike point was somewhere in the 30,000s. So they must be deeply into the money on these call options if they're still holding them. So I think we'll get an update on that with their financial report. And so, you know, I didn't love this, but guess what?
Right.
It looks like it may have been a home run for them. Now, it's not game changing. It's not the reason that I hold them. but I do think they will have made a bunch of money on this. I hope that when they get, they've got big growth plans. They're looking to get to 21 exahash. So what I'm hoping is that at some point they're going to move away from these options. They hired a risk management person to run all of this, because if you remember a few years ago, they kind of stumbled financially. They borrowed a bunch of money, bought Bitcoin with it. That did not go well. So when they were venturing into these financial type transactions, they went out and got themselves a risk management person to oversee all this, come up with a strategy. This was very well thought out. It looks like it's paid off. But again, for me, this is not my investment thesis on them. I like the fact that they have massive amount of growth coming. They have very good power purchase agreements. They're extremely efficient operators, right? It's been a while, but we've had Ben Gagnon on a couple of times. He is their operational guy. In my opinion, he's, the best in the business. I'm not saying that negatively against anybody else, but they've always been excellent operationally, and I think they will continue to be so.
I will agree with you, DeFi. It is capital intense. So I guess somebody said, "Is it Dozer?" I don't. He thinks I don't know how at the market offerings work. Hang on a second. Yeah.
Well,
Tom, how do they work, Tom? Yeah. Come on, please.
there are people, listen, I know that you know how they work, but I will tell you, there's a lot of people that don't know how they work, and I know that from reading my comments section. So I do think it's worth spending 1 minute talking about the fact I did get a comment in my comments section, and I don't know how prevalent this is. And listen, for those of you who are new to investing, do not be ashamed. Don't feel bad, and please ask questions. That's how you're going to learn and get better. Unfortunately, one of the other most common ways we all learn is by making mistakes. Hopefully we don't repeat them, but that's just a part of the investment journey. And, that's a part of our journey in life. So this is no different. But these at the market offerings, they are called shelf offerings. So I did get somebody in the comments section that said, this is on the shelf. So, therefore they're not using it. So why is everybody saying they're diluting? Well, it is referred to as a shelf offering, but it's an at the market shelf offering. And the language is always typical. We just read it, in a few minutes ago in one of the excerpts. When they issue one of these shelf offerings, they are free to sell stock from time to time at any time of their choosing. And, we can see in the extreme example, which we just got, Marathon used their whole $750 million shelf offering in 4 months. That is very unusual. I'm not going to say it's unprecedented, but that is much bigger and faster than anything that's ever happened in the Bitcoin mining space by a mile. So, it's at the discretion of the company as to when they need this money. It's there for the using. And you can assume with the Bitcoin miners, it's not an assumption. They have all told us what they're going to spend the money on and, roughly in what time frame they're looking to spend it. So when you see a company do a shelf offering, particularly in this space, it's because they're going to go use it. So that has been,
Tom, do they have this? That's just not true. They don't have limits on how much they can issue a day. That's not true. Unless they put that in it. Unless they actually wrote in the daily shelf offering, they can't exceed 100,000 shares a day.
I've never seen that in one.
And I'm just going to say that. That's just not true. They could go and dilute it all the way to zero if they wanted to.
Well, we just saw Marathon do $500 million in, what could have been a month. So.
Now, listen, if it was a good idea, I wouldn't have lost, and I'll tell you, $100,000 in 10 minutes on my value of that stock, if that was a good idea. To me, see, this is where I think people get confused about how companies operate. Companies want to reward you only if you pay the price long term. That's what I honestly believe. They don't care about us. They don't care. Do you guys think that Fred cares about his common stockholder? I don't think so. I think Fred cares about his. He would say he was. He would say he does. Trust me. I believe Fred cares about getting the hedge fund guys to invest in them. Honestly,
Well,
because that just makes sense. I would be the same way. You know what I mean?
I know every management team is different. So, and every investor is going to have their own opinion on each management team. And that should be a part of your investment, right? If you don't trust management, probably not a company you should invest in. So,
It, it just drives me nuts when you see things go and you have a plan, and it felt like dirty pool that they gave it the day after they released their financials. Why couldn't they've done it the day? And that's what pissed me off, is because I was sleeping. I didn't think they were going to do something like that the day after they released their financials. I was singing their praise the day before, right, Tom? I mean, I
yes.
was going absolutely. I was telling everybody, I think that, Marathon's $82.15 before I sell Marathon. And then boom, they hoodwink me. And it just makes me mad.
Well, and opinions vary. I can see Crypto Fever's left a couple of comments. He's very much in favor of what they've done. He thinks it's good money to have on the sidelines, and if an opportunity presents itself, they'll have the money there to use it. So, and that was kind of Fred's argument. So it's a matter of, how do you feel about management, and what do you think? And that's why I have not sold any of my shares, and I am digesting this. But I think, if you're honest
Stop
with
day
yourself,
trading.
this is not typical, right? This is not standard issue stuff. This is an outlying event. It's not the first outlying financial event from Marathon. Now, I know Crypto Fever was actually a big fan of the other thing that they did. So, and,
And I'll get back. Here's the other thing. I didn't take my money out of the Bitcoin miners. I just reallocated it into CleanSpark. I got out of Marathon. I'm waiting for Marathon to pull back. I think there's going to be a pullback in Marathon. I think if you start, Tom and I talked about this, and I think if you look at unless Bitcoin goes parabolic, which is very real right now, any minute of any day it could. And if that's the case, obviously it's not going to pull back. But if it does, I think Marathon below $20 is going to be a real attractive look for me.
we're going to see if Bitcoin pulls back, if the Bitcoin miners pull back. We just saw 2 days in a row where Bitcoin ran like the wind, some of the best days they've had in a long, long time, and the Bitcoin miners had a pullback. So all of these things are possible. So,
and here's the other thing. I mean, I don't know. I believe like Marathon has a fundamental problem that they're going to have to rip through a lot of money, and because they did this differently than the other miners. They said that they were going to allow people to service their machines, and they were not going to host their machines.
asset light.
Asset light, and now they've completely changed that thought process. And so that's there's going to be a big learning curve. I mean, we can see this from CleanSpark. There's a big learning curve from Riot, especially Riot, of when you have to be a construction company for a period of time to get these things up online.
Well, and the operations from the construction end to getting them up and running online, and then being in charge of operations. So it's right. There's a learning curve there, and we'll see. We'll see how they do. And Marathon has come out and said, they felt like asset light got them from point A to point B, and now they are changing their philosophy, and they're going to bring things in-house and do it themselves. So yes, there's some money there, not $2 billion, but that's a bunch of money they're going to have to spend to that, companies like Riot spent that money, and others. So that's a part of the puzzle.
How do you disagree that they were asset light? I mean, that's what their statements were.
They were
that's what
right. They were on record. That was their motto. It was the leading tagline in every presentation they did. They said, "We are going to differentiate ourselves. We're taking an asset light approach to this. We think that's how to get to where we want to go." And I'm not going to say they were wrong. And just because they switched gears doesn't mean they were wrong.
Right.
Fred
And
basically said that got us from here to, from here to there. And now we're going to bring in the other side of it.
And again, you know what? It's going to probably be okay, and this is going to be a moot point. It's probably just going to go to the $82.15 I said anyways. None of this is financial advice.
That's right. That's the question. Bigger picture, long term, unless you think they're going to go, buy yachts with this money.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do that at all. I think they already have yachts.
They don't need to do that.
No, and then, I mean, people throw around like a $1.5 billion like it's nothing, and I guess it is nothing nowadays. And to me, that's a lot of money.
I'm going to find this chart. I won't be able to do it on this stream, but 1 year ago, all the Bitcoin mining companies all added up. The market cap of every single one of these companies put together was $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
And now they have a shelf offering for $1.5 billion. So now, to be fair, on average, this whole industry's up over 500%. So it's a much bigger Bitcoin, was at 15,000 and now it's at 60,000. So we're living in a different world. So there is some perspective to have there.
What is Marathon supposed to be at the end of, was it 25? They're saying 50 exahash?
50 exahash, but he did mention, and it was 69 point something, and I don't know why he just didn't round to 70. So call it 70, and they could go beyond that with the money they just raised.
Was 70 by the end of 2025?
Yeah. Yes. Now, 70, he didn't commit to 70. They said they're targeting 50. That's their goal, but they will be opportunistic, and, there's the potential for them to get, I think they have options for machines to get to 70 or 69 point something, I think is what I remember him saying.
Wow.
So I'd call it 70.
Hey, did we make it? Did we get the 20,000, Tom?
By the way, all in all, I'll check right now. All in all, I liked the conference call. I just,
it was just dirty pool.
I like the conference call. I like what they're doing. Their financial statements, I thought, were very, they had a great year. And I got to process. This is a non-standard type of a transaction. It's the biggest transaction in this industry by a mile. So to take a minute and pause and digest this, I don't think is unreasonable. That's my opinion. Cleanspark 200, thanks for the super chat. Will MicroStrategy be added to the S&P 500 this year? Oh, they're in the Russell right now. Will they be added to the S&P 500? I don't know. That is possible. But by the way, it's worth noting they are over $1,000, and I am ultra impressed with MicroStrategy because I thought there was the potential, because they're just a straight up play on Bitcoin. I thought there was the potential that these ETFs would steal from MicroStrategy, but that did not turn out to be the case at all. And we're pretty, obviously we're still early days, but we're, billions and billions and billions of dollars into these ETFs. We'll go look at that in a minute. And the opposite, MicroStrategy has outperformed the Bitcoin miners. So, congratulations. If you're holding MicroStrategy, congratulations to you. You've been killing it. The other thing go ahead,
I'm going
George.
to tell you, the best thing that I did was actually buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, so that's the other part of the strategy.
I didn't like the leverage play from the miners to Bitcoin, so I moved, more than half of my money into actual, Bitcoin itself.
Whether you buy Bitcoin itself, that's the underlying asset for the Bitcoin miners, obviously. You can buy Bitcoin itself. You can buy the Bitcoin ETFs. I have been buying BitX, stock ticker BITX, which is a 2x leverage ETF. Now, it trades the futures, and I will say yesterday it was off, which has been rare, but it did not do a 2x leverage. So there is no guarantee with all these ETFs that are leverage plays. They're not perfect. Some days they don't hit their mark, and yesterday was one of those days, and it's frustrating when that happens. But in any event, I have been buying that. Somebody also left a comment, oh, you never said anything. What all of a sudden, what's this BitX? So if you go back and check the tape, this is like the 10th time I've talked about the fact that I have been dollar cost averaging into BitX for months and months. Now, still, I have by far
I
more
love
of
you
my
guys,
portfolio.
man. I'm sorry. I'm just reading what these guys say. I love it, dudes. This is awesome. I don't mind hate or like people don't agree with me and stuff like that. Dan, if somebody gives you a report on one day and then the next day, first thing in the morning, they tell you that they're going to raise another $1.5 billion, why didn't they do it the day before? You know why. They were trying to sneak it through. I mean, why wouldn't you do it that way?
DEFCON said he didn't commit, but said they could grow fast if it makes sense to get to 69.7 exahash. So that was, I couldn't remember the exact number. I knew it was just under 70. So thank you, DEFCON. 69.7 exahash is what Fred said on the earnings call. Kay, who was a member, said, so Tom, for the fourth time asking, please discuss the potential news of Bitfarms earnings next week. Well, I did just talk about the earnings options. I don't think earnings are a big event for the Bitcoin miners because they have monthly operational updates. And, Bitfarms is fairly comprehensive. We know, right? We know for most of these companies, we know how many Bitcoin they mined. We know how many Bitcoin they're hodling. We know what their exahash is. They've told us what their shelf offering is. We know what their purchase orders are for future growth. So yeah, there are a few things we're going to find out in their earnings, but I think you'll see these earnings calls are typically not an event for the Bitcoin miners. So I don't think they go up or down dramatically. Now, yesterday or whatever day it was, Marathon had a big move on earnings day, but Marathon was up 2%. It was a sell the news type of a situation on a day where every single Bitcoin miner was red. Marathon was green 2%, and then they were red after hours when they released. I think that was for two reasons. Number one, it was by the time you evened the two out, it was just a sell the news deal. And, they did no worse that day than any of the other Bitcoin miners. Secondly, they had massive dilution coming in. So, I think that was a part of what was going on there as well. But again, they really didn't underperform any of the other Bitcoin miners. So to me, I don't look for big moves on earnings day. I do like to read there's a lot of information for investors in these earnings, but it's unusual for there to be a big surprise in there one way or the other. There won't be a surprise on revenue. We will get some insight into what their cost was, but I don't care so much about what their cost was in Q4. Crypto Fever, thanks for the super chat. I'll get to that in 1 second, but I just wanted to say thank you. I'm not that concerned about what the cost was in Q4 for Bitfarms in particular, because they are going to replace the vast majority of their existing fleet. So because of that, their fleet efficiency is going to change dramatically, and then we're going to move into the halving. So yes, it's nice to understand the historical information, but I'm not expecting a big move off of their earnings or really most of the companies' earnings. Now, some of the companies that have lesser reporting requirements that are outside the US, where we get a lot less transparency and a lot less information on a monthly, quarterly basis, maybe there's a little more of an impact on those. So we'll see. I could be wrong, but I'm not buying or selling anything for Bitfarms based on, and it's not just, quarterly. I think this is their year end. So, but I'm not expecting any surprises. I think they've been very transparent about what's going on. So that, to answer that question, those are my thoughts on not just Bitfarms earnings, but most of these companies' earnings. And that's not true across all investments, right? There are some there are some companies where earnings is crucial. You get forecasts right on a quarterly basis, and that can be more so than the performance. For a lot of these companies, their forecast of what's ahead is the single biggest thing that moves their stock, and you can have dramatic moves on stock on a lot of earnings calls. I just don't think in this industry it's a little bit different. Crypto Fever, thank you very much for the super chat. Thanks for being a member. At the end of the day, this is what matters. It doesn't matter what we like. It matters what the markets like and what the markets are rewarding. CleanSpark, Marathon, Bitfarms will be the best performing miners. So those are I agree with that statement 100%. So just Crypto Fever's opinion and just my opinion, but I agree with that 100%.
That's why I've been laughing, because most likely this whole conversation is mute. Like, I mean, it just doesn't matter, because Marathon's gonna explode and do extremely, extremely well. I guess it's the jealousy I have because I'm not a Bitcoin miner.
Well, we tried.
Question, Tom.
Yes.
Did we hit 20,000?
Oh, let's see. Fresh. Oh, 19,999 subscribers. Let me see if I can take a screenshot of this.
Come on, Jeff. You just joined the stream, so you must not be a member. Do it.
I'm going to copy this and paste it. Give me just a second. I'll show you guys.
I think I'll you bastard.
Oh, we need to make up for the people that are gonna unsubscribe.
Yeah, do it. Unsubscribe. Do it.
No,
bring it down. Bring it down.
No. Here, I just took a screenshot just so you guys can see. Channel Analytics current subscribers 19,999. That was 1 minute ago. You want me to press refresh and see if anybody out there just subscribed?
Sure.
Nothing. Now, I don't know how fast this updates. Some of you might have subscribed, and I don't know how YouTube works. It might take minutes or hours for this to update. But at the moment, I just refreshed and it went from 19,986 to 19,999 subscribers. So our next live stream will be our 20,000 subscriber live stream. So thank you everybody who's subscribing. I know we're still a small channel, but appreciate each and every one of you guys. Special thanks, of course, to all of our members for all that you contribute to the conversation.
Oh, I'll tell you, I bought it less than 40,000 Bitcoin, by the way, Doug. But yeah, I didn't tell my wife for like weeks that I bought it and how much I bought, by the way. She would have been pissed. I didn't tell her until I was way up, until it hit 50. Oh, by the way. Refresh again, Tom. Try it.
I'm refreshing it.
Oh, do it.
20,002.
Yes.
Bam. Thank you very much, everybody. 20,000 subscribers. George, this is you. How long have you been waiting for this moment? It felt like we crawled here, but actually the last couple of months, thank you to everybody. Actually, the channel's grown more in the last few months than, the crypto winter was not only brutal, rough for my portfolio and probably all of yours, but it was pretty rough on the channel. But we stayed here all along. I think we've got like 13 or 1,400 videos we've posted at this point. So we're doing our best. So special thanks. Glad you guys were all here to...
Of course she was pissed, Calvin. You know that. That's how women are about... They don't understand Bitcoin. No, I talked to an accountant. I'm sorry. I talked to an accountant. What day was that, Tom? Thursday? And he was like, what the hell is Bitcoin?
No, that's what you should say. People don't understand
People
Bitcoin.
Don't understand. They just don't get Bitcoin. And now I'm becoming... When I understood how Satoshis work, I'm becoming a Bitcoin maximus, even though I hold a big holding of XRP. But XRP basically is what Satoshis do. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense.
For those of you who are following the bouncing ball.
Right. I'm sick of unsubscribing and resubscribing today, but we got... You guys are great.
Thanks to everybody who's congratulating us for 20,000. I appreciate it. You guys
Let's
are the
look
ones.
at the 10K challenge. And Tom, what do you think the earnings are going to be for Bitcoin? I mean, Bitfarms. Do you think it's going to be decent? Or no, you don't know?
I mean, we know what their revenue is, right? The question is, what's their... here's what I look for on these. Their cost per coin is going to be high, but we know they're replacing the vast majority of their fleet. So, you know, they will be more efficient in future quarters. And what I look for is, did they manage their overhead? What's in their control? Price of Bitcoin's outside of their control. Operations are in their control. They've performed very well operationally as far as production goes. Overheads in their control. I expect that they will have done a good job controlling their overhead. They'll have positive gross profit. I think they'll be cash flow positive. I think they will not have net income from gap, right? They'll lose money, but I don't really even look at that right now for these small cap, high growth companies. I'm more looking to see what's their growth plan. Are they getting bigger, more, and at the same time, are they improving their efficiency? And are they controlling the things that they can control, which is their overhead? And after the halving, you know, controlling that cost per coin, you know, it may not be all machines running, you know, at full steam at all times, depending on the fluctuation in the price of power and, you know, the price of Bitcoin. So obviously we want to see them use their Bitcoin miners and mine Bitcoin. Riot in specific. Midway, thank you very much for the super chat, and thank you for being a member. Congrats on the 20K subscribers. Cypher just released their monthly update, and they are up to 1,433 HODL. So they're getting closer to that 2,000 plus HODL. So that is nice to see. I haven't looked at that yet. Maybe we can look at it together on the stream. Cypher is another one that this is a couple of months in a row they've made a big push, and I expect them to do the same thing next month. So yeah, they went from, you know, 700-ish. It looks like they're going to work their way to get 2,000 Bitcoin in HODL. There's not a lot of these Bitcoin miners that have HODL positions. Believe it or not, 2,000 is probably 5th or 6th place out of all the Bitcoin. Well, I don't have to speculate. I will go to the list. Cypher was in 6th. This is through January 31st, so this does not include the press releases we're getting right now. Cypher was in 6th place. Hive announced they did get over 2,000. Cypher will probably get over 2,000, and that's it. I don't think anybody else has a shot at getting to 2,000. You know, certainly between now and the halving. Bitfarms isn't really even taking that strategy. They sold all their Bitcoin in the month of February. So I think you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 companies with 2,000 or more Bitcoin. CleanSpark is jumping in leaps and bounds, so I do think they're going to get to over 5,000, as we discussed earlier in the stream. So I think you're going to have 4 that have broken away from the field. Obviously, Marathon's way out in first place. Hut did mention they have shifted their treasury strategy, and they are going to start spending Bitcoin. So I don't know if that means they're going to dip into their HODL or if they're just going to spend what they mine. I guess time will tell, but they did say they are going to be flexible, and if need be, and if it suits their purposes, they will use the Bitcoin that they have in HODL. But for the time being, they are still solidly in 2nd place. Riot's in 3rd. CleanSpark's going to put themselves, you know, they're now at 4,200 with the report we got today. It looks like they're going to get to over 5,000. So, you know, you got these top 5, and then you've got Hive and Cypher that look like they're going to get to over 2,000. So those are the companies, you know, if your company's not on this list, it's probably 0. They probably have, a lot of the Bitcoin mining companies still have the philosophy, we're going to sell all of our Bitcoin. We'll see if that changes after the halving, but, you know, it's going to get even harder because these companies need to pay for operations. Investors typically don't like when, you know, at the market offerings are used to pay monthly overhead. So now, the exception to that being, I think the companies that have made a decision in the 90 or 100 days coming into the halving that they're going to do that to pump up their HODL position while they still can. I think that most of the people in the Bitcoin mining investing space appreciate that and they're good with that. But I think going forward, you got to pay your bills is typically, the mindset. Darren S, thanks for the super chat. KUDAB members chat tomorrow.
Yes.
I might have my next option must buy.
One. Let's do one because I eat lunch at 12. And it's really neat, guys, because it's with all the members. If you guys are members, that alone is worth it because these guys are smart. I mean, you guys are just freaking smart, and it's just great talking to you guys. You know what I mean? It's really interesting to hear, and I mean, I'll never say people's names unless you give me permission about, what you guys told us, what to do, and the results that you had, like the NYCB. Unless you tell me, then I will. And it's just, it's incredible. We're talking about real money, guys, not like, making $5 a 10 money, 10. Everything you got to do what you have to do for your investment strategy. It's not financial advice. It's what they are doing, and they just are nice enough to share it.
So while we're doing that, we will take a look at Cypher. So Bitcoin mined 334. So first of all, let's go take a look at last month. Cypher 371. So I think actually 334 is a good result for them. Month over month. Like I said, there's 2 less days in the month, and there was 2 massive difficulty level adjustments. So to go from 371 to what was it, 334? I think that was a solid result. Very similar to what Bitfarms did, and I think Bitfarms had a solid month. So far we're seeing, in my opinion, we're seeing some good operational updates here.
And then Rich, we went from 20 to 20,000 in 3 years. So I guess it looks like our anniversary date is the 8th of March for our 3 years.
Oh, coming right up on 3 years. 1 week from today. So we got in under the wire, George. 3 years.
Wow, we really miscalculated.
Well, we ran into something called crypto winter. So Cypher, they added 334 Bitcoin. They sold 33, so the majority were added to their HODL position. They're at 7.4 exahash. So, at a glance, that's pretty much the whole thing. So I think a very positive report from Cypher. This is just what I would have been looking for them to do. So.
And then somebody said, how do you get to the chat? So it's on Discord, and if you're a member and you link up your YouTube to your Discord, you automatically see the YouTube chat and the YouTube members. But you gotta link your YouTube membership to Discord.
Yes.
I will send you the invite to Discord right now. Hang on.
Shameless plug, if you guys could please smash the like button. It does help the live stream out in real time and after, so it is a giant help for us. Much appreciated. We got 266 likes. We've been shooting for 500 likes, so please help us if you would be so kind. As George likes to say, if you enjoy this content, smash the like button. If you don't enjoy it, is there a dislike? Is that what it is?
Yeah, hit the dislike, yeah. Either way is good.
Smash something, or don't, whatever you want.
Or break your TV.
That's right. And if you have not joined, consider joining. We did just cross 20,000 subscribers right here with you guys live on today's live stream. So thank everybody very much for that. It was a long journey.
Thanks, John.
And it's much appreciated. One of our members much earlier, sorry for the massively delayed answer, but it's hard to keep up with this chat, asked, can you please explain terahash and what that means and exahash? So the exahash is basically the amount of Bitcoin mining computing power that a Bitcoin mining company has. It's measured in exahash. So that's the amount of ASIC miners. So, these new ASIC miners.
I'm not gonna say what I want to say.
What? Oh, you're not going to say
Isn't
it.
it?
So I guess I shouldn't ask you what.
No,
So,
well, then now I'm gonna say it since you said what. I thought it was measured in joules.
what? Joules per
I'm
terahash is the efficiency of the
right.
Bitcoin miners. Exahash is the amount of computing power that a company has. And I just want to put that in perspective. Let me find the chart. Not it. This is it. Okay. So, no, that's not it. Okay. 568. So, as of February 29th, yesterday, the average hash rate, and this number varies depending on where you look. The entire global hash rate is 568 exahash, which means every computer in the world that's mining Bitcoin added up all together, according to this chart, is approximately 568 exahash. This varies from day to day and from minute to minute, but you can see it's somewhere in that range, and you can see it's been moving up and up and up, and I think you can expect that. Now, at the halving, a lot of machines will become obsolete. A lot of people are expecting a pull down, a drawback in this when a lot of those machines come offline. I think that could very well be true, but I would caution people. You see with all these, we spent half of this stream talking about these at the market offerings. Well, what do you think they're going to do with all that money? They've already told us they're going to buy Bitcoin mining machines and add Bitcoin mining machines to the network. So yes, a lot of machines will become no longer profitable or so unprofitable they need to be unplugged. So we might get a little reprieve. You'll see this last adjustment we got yesterday, we did move down 2.9%, but that was after two pretty vicious adjustments to the upside. So when you hear Marathon at 30 exahash, all the machines in the whole world are about, according to this, 568 exahash. So that's kind of what that means. So you can calculate their percent of the total amount of hash rate. And remember, prior to the halving, if everything works out on any given day, 900 Bitcoin are mined per day. And so that's going to get cut in half to 450. That is an average, right? Because not every block gets mined in exactly the 10 minutes that we anticipate. But so right now the reward is 6.25, 6.25. And it's going to get cut in half at the halving. So we're going to go from 900 a day to 450 a day. So the question becomes, how much exahash you have as a percentage of the total should over time reflect the amount of Bitcoin that you're going to mine out of the amount of Bitcoin that's mined. Now, what's not included in all of that is there are fees. So if you mine a block, you get the fees that come along with that as well. We've had a couple of months, like the month of December, where the fees were very big, sometimes 2 or 3 or 4 Bitcoin per block versus what has typically been 0.2 or 0.3 or 0.4 Bitcoin per block in fees. So even if it stays at that, if the reward's cut in half, the fee is going to be twice as important. And if the fees grow, obviously that will help the Bitcoin miners. So, this was a very quick overview, but hopefully that's enough to get people started on their journey. I think I see the real Sebastian in here. So hello, Sebastian. Good afternoon. Happy Friday
Hello.
to you as well. Welcome.
Which one do you think will go out first, Tom? No, don't say it. Never mind. Forget that statement. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Sebastian. Much appreciated, and congratulations to you. I know that you have been adding subscribers and doing well, and you're one of the, there's only a few of us out here talking about this stuff, so we're
especially dedicated to the Bitcoin miners.
Yes,
very few.
That's right. And for those of you who don't know Sebastian's channel, you can check out, he's in the chat right now. You can check out his channel, and we both try and cut this up in as many ways as we possibly can, and there's a lot of valuable stuff in there. So please.
I'm just reading what Ed Mack wrote. You guys are too funny. You're keeping me cracked up. Oh, God, that's great.
Poll.
Oh, yeah, I don't have one up. I got it down.
We need a poll. While we're looking at that, I'm going to go through. We didn't really get through. Did we get through what CleanSpark did? We were going to go through. We did Marathon. Oh, we did talk about CleanSpark. So the one we didn't talk about was Riot. So for Riot, again, now I'm back to the at the market offerings. So in Riot's 10K on page 81, subsequent to December 31st. So from January 1st, 2024 through February 20th, 2024, you'll see that the company had $114.9 million in sales. That's 8.6 million shares. So that's another 115 million. So, you know, it's 115 million from Riot. It was, I think, 112 million from CleanSpark. It was about 500 million from Marathon. So you can see that really was a lot of dilution. It was a lot of pressure, you know, sales pressure, issuing this many new shares. So despite that, you know, these stocks are still at very good numbers. So then beyond that, so other events, a couple of things. I'll read this part first because they had an at the market that was open. We talked about this earlier in the stream, but we didn't really go trace it to the stuff submitted to the SEC. Okay, so on August 9th, they did an at-the-market offering. This is Riot, an at-the-market offering on August 9th of $750 million. As of February 26th, they had used $700 million had been sold under that supplement, and they're terminating it. So they did 700 million of the 750 million. So that was from August 9th to February 26th. They drew down about $700 million. They closed that one out. And then you'll see in green, hopefully this is in green on the screen, on February 26, 2024, we filed a prospectus supplement with the Securities and Exchange Commission to register the offer and sale of common stock pursuant to the sales agreement, having an aggregate initial offering price of up to $750 million. So in August 9th of 2023, they did a $750 million offer. They only used about $700 million of that. They closed that out, and now they have another $750 million at the market shelf offer. So I will tell you, this happened just before Marathon happened. So I was kind of stunned with this. I don't know if stunned is the right word, but this was a lot to process. This is a lot of money. They, you know, from August 9th until February 26th, that was $700 million of dilution. And now they're going to do another $750 million. That seemed astronomical until, of course, basically the next day or the day after, Marathon went out and did even more than that. So you can see these companies, they're in an ASIC race, if you will. These companies are trying to build out infrastructure, get as many machines as they can. So they're, you know, go ahead, George.
No, I'm sorry, but yeah, what happened to the real Gary Gensler? FV702.
I don't know.
I mean, wow. I hope he's okay. This is the problem with you guys. We miss him. You know what I mean? We know everybody, and you know when we build relationships, and then when somebody doesn't show up, you know.
Yeah,
But I think you're right. He must have cashed out.
it could be, and some people get exhaustion and they take some time away. You know, that's natural and understandable for investors. We, you know, George and I sometimes talk off screen about some names that, you know, we've seen for
He's
months
rich.
or years, and all of a sudden, you know, they haven't been around in a few weeks or a few months.
Yeah.
And sometimes they come back. Remember Mark Twain? He left a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I talked to him off.
Oh,
He's
okay.
okay.
Oh,
He's in
good.
Australia.
Well, that's good to hear.
He's in Australia, and it's hard for him to get on the stream because of the time difference.
Well, it's good to hear. And you know, you can't blame people. Now, I would think that right now people would become, even if they took a break, I would think people would be pouring back in. Right? Bitcoin is on a rampage. Let's go to the 1 day.
Has
This
it
is the
worked?
15-minute. I mean, if you go to the 1 day, you can see like these three.
List my house.
This was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Right? So, you know, that was a 20+% move in 3 days. Now, what was frustrating to a lot of you, I know, was Tuesday and Wednesday were not good days for the Bitcoin miners. So, you know, those were days where that was tough for me. I mean, we did a live stream on Wednesday talking about it,
was
and then
tough.
Thursday was just as bad as Wednesday was. However, today we did get some green in our Bitcoin miners, and we got a surge kind of near the end of the day. We got a nice pump near the end of the day on Friday. We'll see if this holds over the weekend. I mean, we're we're almost certainly going to close a weekly candle over 60,000 here, and I shouldn't say that and jinx it. We're still a couple of days away from a weekly candle, but this could very well be, I think we just had the highest monthly candle close ever yesterday. Let's go to the monthly and see if that is correct. I know it was trending that way, so yeah. Well, did we? This closed at 61,179, and that made, this was 61,343. So was that a couple of $100 off of the highest monthly close ever? So we just missed. I didn't pay attention. We just missed that. That was last night. So now we got to wait a whole nother month to see if we can beat that. But we should have our first weekly candle close over 60,000 since, November of 2021.
Hey, we never said anything, and Duckman was asking about his stronghold. Any new information about that?
Have a great weekend, Sebastian. Thanks.
See you, sir.
I mean, all I can say about Stronghold is I wish them the best. I like what they're doing. They're doing something that nobody else anywhere is doing. They are truly cleaning up the environment in a way that is desperately needed in Pennsylvania. And they're an energy company. They've tried to turn this into a Bitcoin mining thing. They've run into some big stumbling blocks along the way. They've had to change their corporate strategy at one point in the middle. They did have to give back a lot of their Bitcoin mining machines. There is a lot of infrastructure there. If ever there was a project worth doing, I don't know, maybe that is a good acquisition potential for one of these other, Marathon talks all the time about acquiring companies. In my personal opinion, I think that Stronghold's best opportunity is that they get acquired at a premium to their stock price. And they do have, other than Bitcoin, a lot of these companies, a lot of the smaller Bitcoin mining companies, their assets are their machines. Some of them, their machines are aging, so there's not necessarily a lot of value there. If they can't make their way on their own, they may not be good acquisition targets. Stronghold, I think the opposite of. They have a complete business infrastructure set up, and if somebody else with more capital came in, I think that would be a great addition to one of these companies. So that would be my hope, is that company gets consolidated into one of the larger companies and somebody keeps doing what they're doing and maybe even grows and, does it on a larger scale. They're cleaning up. I'm not trying to be cryptic. They're essentially using all the sludge, environmental sludge that was left behind from coal over the last 100 years or whatever. And it's, I don't know, it was millions or hundreds of millions of tons. It was some astronomical amount, number. And it's very toxic. It's something that needs to be cleaned up. They found a way to, at the same time, clean this and convert it to energy and use it as energy. And then their thought was, let's use that energy to mine Bitcoin. And, unfortunately, the crypto winter really decimated their business model. So those would be my thoughts. Any thoughts on that one, George?
Tom, I was answering questions. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's
Like there
okay.
was on the feedbacks from everybody because I wanted to see if the real Gary Gensler ever said anything, and he really disappeared.
Disappeared.
Sorry.
So DEFCON 2 is saying Fred's not interested in acquiring whole miners, just their assets, specifically their sites.
Makes sense.
If the
Makes
price is
sense.
right. And I do think that the vast majority of these will probably not get acquired as a company. An asset sale is what's typical. We've already seen CleanSpark buy pieces of other companies, Mawson in specific in Georgia. So I do think that will be more likely the business model. But I do think, if it's not Marathon, I do think Stronghold is the one company that is completely different than all the other Bitcoin mining companies. They have, most of their infrastructure has nothing to do with ASIC chips and Bitcoin miners. They are a functioning company. And if somebody wants to, be green and hang their hat on that and talk about, doing good for their community and the environment and all that stuff. And, this is, I would say this is a gold star example of that.
Yeah, but he's so eccentric. You know what I mean?
The owner of that company.
Yeah. And I will tell you one thing, it's his passion. I mean that he grew up in the area. You got to give the man credit, and I hope somebody buys him out because to know what he grew up with and what had happened to that area, what has happened to that area is just unbelievable.
If you go to, if you get a minute, whether you're going to invest in them or not, doesn't matter. It's worth checking out. Go to Stronghold's website and just see what they do. It's absolutely, in my opinion, it's absolutely fascinating. And I do think, this is a real world. This is not buying carbon credits or, some other intangible. This is cleaning up. See for yourself. It speaks for itself. They've got a video. It's very short. I think it's a good watch if you're interested. Again, even if you're not going to invest in the company, and obviously we're not recommending that either way, but I do think it's worth checking out what they do. It's fascinating in my opinion.
I'm sorry, I'm just too happy.
Good.
The third is the fourth quarter of the moon. Just saying.
Is that, we're counting quarters now?
I always count quarters. It's all about the corners. Bitcoin's still moving, Tom.
It's all ball bearings.
It's all ball bearings.
Anybody name that movie? In the chat, if you can, name that movie. What was a movie
Do you
quote?
think any will be bought out, Tom?
No. I think.
No, I know. It was funny because I talked to the CEO like back and forth on LinkedIn a few times, and we were gonna maybe have her on the show. Tom's like, "Why? Why?" I'm like, "Okay, Tom."
To the credit of the new, I'm still saying the new CEO of Any, which is Sphere 3D. She's been the CEO for a while now. She walked into a very difficult situation. That is a job I would not have taken. The company's a much better company today than it was a year ago or 2 years ago, when they were talking about their Mountain Dew machines and whatnot. But I don't know if it's enough. They have a decent balance sheet. Any has a decent balance sheet. I just don't know how they're going to scale to where they can be of any relevance. So again, are they going to survive? Maybe they're going to be one of the ones that survive, but is it going to be a great investment? It's not in my top 10. That's what I will say about any.
Well, Tom, I'm going to call it. We'll go get a beer, even though I don't drink.
You're not going to get a beer. George does not drink at all. All
Well,
right,
happy
let's
20,000.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, very much. 20,000 subscribers. Thank you to each and every one of you. Special thanks to all of our members. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. If you haven't smashed the like button, consider smashing the like button. If you're interested in being a member, we do have a membership. We have a members-only live stream every Tuesday after the market close. George talks to the members through Discord pretty much every Saturday. And we have a lot of members-only videos, particularly a bunch on some of the smaller Bitcoin miners. So it's only $5 a month. You're welcome to join. Congratulations, everybody. We finally had a green day. Hopefully that leaves everybody with in a better place than with Bitcoin miners than Wednesday and Thursday, which was pretty rough. So, parting thoughts, George?
Invest in Bitcoin. It could change your future. But this is not financial advice. See ya.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend.